Okay, today we are going to learn about how to properly raise children. We're going to learn about today. Uh, but a few days ago, I gave the shir over here in the White Shul in between Mincha and Ma'ariv about Eikev. It was around 15 minutes. The importance of the minor mitzvahs. But over here in the morning, we try to do Parsha. Do Parsha over here. That was between Mincha and Ma'ariv. Rabbi Zilberstein in Aleinu L'Shabeach goes on a whole major discussion over here about properly raising children. Pasuk says in Ches Hey Ki Kasher Yatzer Ishus Beno, when a person is involved with his child, say it like that. So chinuch, it's a pretty important topic. What do you do when a child has a tantrum? Practically, child starts doing things that he or she shouldn't be doing. What do you do? How do you address that? So, someone who thinks that educating children and rearing them in the right direction is about is primarily about punishments is completely mistaken. Children who receive this type of quote education, they will never they have very little hope. If we want our children to follow in the right way, then this is certainly not the way how to educate children. How are we going to get our children to love what they're supposed to love, to be involved with what they're supposed to be involved with? It's not through hitting. Hitting could be used as a method on rare occasion, but to consistently do so is a problem. A parent who constantly does this, or a teacher who constantly does this. Nowadays, we don't really have what's the term, corporal punishment, right? Yeah, you don't even know what it's called anymore, right? It used to be common,
Yeah.
30, 40 years ago,
Mhm.
right? But even when it was done back then, as soon as the teacher would leave the room, as soon as the parent would leave to the room, kids would do wild things. They wouldn't listen to a thing that they were told. So we see that it wouldn't work. Rather, it needs to come in a calm and a gentle way. Nowadays, we see all common people going in wrong directions. We have to fix this. There's a fascinating Rashi that is one of the most underrated Rashis. People don't even realize that it exists because there's no emphasis on this. It says by Yosef, Torah teaches us, Yosef told his brothers in Mem Hey Ches, after they finally rejoined him after all those years in Egypt, and they were just looking for food during a famine. But Yosef told his brothers, "V'ata lo atem shalachtem oisihine." You didn't send me over here. Ki Elokim yishmerenu la'av l'paro. It was Hashem that sent me here, and He made me an av to Paro. What is an av?
Literally your father.
What does that mean? He's a father to Paro.
Who advises him.
You know what Rashi says?
God.
What is a father? Rashi on the spot says, "La'av, l'chaver, v'lepitroin." L'chaver. You know what a father is? You know what a parent is? A friend and a patron. Yeah. People think, What is the goal of a parent? What is what exactly is the relationship? Rashi, in a few words, says something incredibly insightful. He's a chaver. Chaver. Meaning, what does a friend do? Friend doesn't hit his other friend. They hang out together, they have a good time. Friends don't intimidate one another. That's what Yosef was telling his brothers. Don't worry, it's all good over here. Friends worry about their other uh, friends' needs. Takes care of the needs. That's what it's about, taking care of the needs. Says that there's a story of someone who was appointed Talmid Chacham Av Beis Din, the head of the Jewish court. Right? It's a nice position to have. Wanted to know, tell me what should I know about this new position that I have? So Zilberstein answered this Rashi. Av Beis Din needs to treat those who come to him like a friend. Because he's an Av Beis Din. Av, the head of the Beis Din, the father of the Beis Din.
Can you do Russian Karen?
Yeah, Chaver.
It's something with
He's an Av Beis Din. That's what an Av is. That's what a father is. He's a friend. Rav Volbe talks about this as well. He says that unfortunately, people think that the main way to be mechanech children is through punishments. He says that there was someone who was going to write, who's going to publish a sefer on chinuch, importance of educating children. And he was going to title the sefer Matai Lahanish Yeled. When should I publish? When should excuse me, should I punish a child? That was going to be the title. When to punish a child. What type of name is that? You're, you're already focusing on the wrong thing. Punishment, punishments is not a plan A. It's not a plan Aleph. It's not option number one. It has to be the last tool in our toolbox that's going to be used. It has to be the last ammunition in our repertoire that's going to be used. It can't be number one. Why then do parents like to punish often? Hitting and the like. The answer is it shows that there is in control. That's what it shows. Shows that they have control, and everyone likes being in control running the show. Whether a parent, a rebbe, a teacher, but it should not be the first option that's used. Furthermore, someone who consistently does so, it's going to lose its power. It's going to lose its effect of what it could accomplish. He said one time there was a mashgiach who came to him in Yeshiva Katana, and he asked him, the first question that he asked him is, what is the story? The first question that he asked for Zilberstein is, when should when should a child be expelled from the yeshiva, thrown out, tossed from the school? So he's never going to be successful. If that's your question that you're asking of when to start kicking people out, Come on. You're not going to be a good mechanech. You're not going to be a good educator that way. Focusing on the wrong thing. The same applies to parents as well. Like the title of that sefer that he wanted to put out, if it's just going to be, if the whole view is going to be when to punish, it's totally twisted. It's distorted. It's crooked. It's not going to work. The entire foundation of proper education is thrown out of the window. So a person will say, but what about the pasuk? It seems to say otherwise. The pasuk in Zechariah, of course, we all know Tanakh and we all know Zechariah. Pasuk says in Zechariah, Yud Aleph Zayin, Choshech Shivtoi Soine Benoi, someone who withholds the rod is he hates his son. Simple explanation of this pasuk. Someone who doesn't hit their child with the type of stick, staff, a rod, it's not good. How are you going to answer that pasuk? Someone who asked this question, it's great that he knows the pasuk in Zechariah. He's already ahead of everyone else, but he has a major misunderstanding and there's a major flaw in his logic of how chinuch works. Because the pasuk in Zechariah says, Yud Al Zayin, sorry, this is the pasuk in Zechariah. Ve'era esoin hariga l'chein anya hasoin ve'ekach li shnei makalis lecha krasi noyim lecha krasi chayvim ve'eres esoin. Talks about there's two staffs that were used to help his sheep, to help him graze, to help steer them in the right direction. Two staff meeting. Number one of them was called Noyam, which is pleasant. Another one was called Chayvim, lashon of Chavala, destroying. So we see that there are two staffs that could be used to hit the animals to make sure they're going in the right path. Two staffs. One of them was used to hit, Chayvim. Okay. But then there's another staff, which is not worse than that first staff, the one that's used to hit, if necessary. And it's possible to educate children with this one. It's called the staff of Noyam, pleasantness, being pleasant.
Try to shift Kamashant.
And Shiftecha Mishantecha, what do you mean?
In this modality,
Yeah.
shift to
Yes, sir.
One's supposed to be like one more hard and one,
Exactly, same
the
idea.
line.
Same idea. So the staffs are the equated in the pasuk, right? But we need to know that this staff of being pleasant has to be used first. What does that mean practically? A lot of times you see parents, they only pipe in and give their commentary when something's going on wrong. They start raising their voice, they'll start doing other things like that. But we have to realize that if our children are doing the right thing, and then we compliment them for doing the right thing, and we say, great job, and we give them words of encouragement, that's also a staff. That's a good staff. If we, this is a discussion in general, rewarding children for doing the right thing, because then they're going to look at the reward. But if we give them something that they enjoy as a reward, that solidifies, that will encourage them to continue with their good behavior. That not only is that as effective as even when yelling or hitting in the proper time is used, but it's even more effective. It ingrains it more within them. That's a staff. That's what the pasuk is talking about. And we have to talk about, it's really difficult to put into words and to describe how bad it could be when parent, teacher, Rebbe starts yelling at his child or student, starts hitting him. The Rav Eliyahu Lopian Zatzal, he once said, with children, you have to just go derech tova, the good way. And he said that when he was older, when people are older, they start having regrets. If I would have done that different, if I would have done this different. And he said, what was his regrets? When he hit his children when they were younger. Times that every single smack that he gave, he regretted it. We have to realize that Rabbi Lopian had 11 children, many of them who turned into tremendous Talmidei Chachamim and Rosh Yeshivas. This is what Rabbi Lopian said. Something to think about, something to contend with. What's our regrets? It's quite a line over there. The Bereshis Rabbah says that every single grass, every single blade of grass has a certain mazel, certain angel that's involved with it that hits it and says, grow. The mazel is called makkah. It hits it, tells grow, it says grow. That's what causes growth, hitting. This doesn't mean that an angel is literally right by every blade of glass, takes a staff, smacks the blade of grass so that it grows. That's not what we're talking about over here. What it means is that there's a strength that causes the grass to grow. And that is called makkah. That is the strength that causes it to go ahead. So too, this pasuk. Someone who withholds the staff hates his son. It doesn't mean we have to actually pick up our hand or hold something to smack our child with. There's other ways. There's the makil noam, the staff of being pleasant. And that could positively affect the growth as well. We have to add something incredibly important. From a halachic perspective, after a certain age, it's not even so simple to hit one's child. The Gemara in Kedushin on Lamed explains that there's actually a machlokes when it's permissible to hit a child. Some say until 16. Gemara in Kedushin Lamed. Some say until 24. So it's implied from the Gemara that someone who hits their child after that age of either 16 or 24 transgresses the well-known pasuk lifnei iver lo titein mechshol. For a blind person, don't place a stumbling block because you will cause your child to rebel against you and hit back, which will be a problem. He says a very practical point. Rav Zilberstein says nowadays we don't need to wait till those ages. We start hitting children even at the age of 3. They're going to start hitting back. When a child hits back, it shows that it wasn't effective and it makes your relationship worse with that child. Think about that. Kid receives a smack, he's going to try to smack back. He's going to pick up his hand. The only difference is that the kid can't reach the face of the child or whatever it is, or he can't hit as hard. So the hit won't be as effective. But nevertheless, the child is trying to retaliate. He's rebelling. Child's rebelling. So you see, it's not working. It's dangerous. The earlier generations, the story was different. Nowadays, the chutzpah is yaske. The tremendous chutzpah. How do you translate chutzpah? Tremendous. No one has any brazenness. No one has any respect. There's no respect. There's no respect. Used to be people in the earlier generations. It was a different story. The children had more strength. They were able to handle the hits more. They were stronger. Nowadays, alavavos chalushos, people are weaker. And therefore, you have to be careful with this rebelling. You have to realize that when a parent is going to hit a child, he's damaging the relationship and the child. When the child gets older, the child is just going to keep to himself. Totally. His parents aren't going to join in. Not going to have that relationship anymore. It's going to be too late to rebuild a broken relationship. It all started from what? Because there weren't, you know, what would you call this in English? Parent classes, grandparent classes, yeah, child raising. So nowadays it's not on people's radar. People have radars of what they should do, what they shouldn't do. No one even thinks of, oh, do I need parenting classes? The answer is yes. This is not an easy thing. It takes over people's lives. There's no manual for it. There's no rules. There's no guidelines. Everyone thinks what they think is right. But this is where the correct information is coming from, what we're talking about right now. Parenting 101. In general, it'll be too late once the child's already older. Typically, that will be the case. Now, for every rule, there are exceptions, but this is the general rule. Let's talk about bedtime. It's a pretty practical situation over here. Just say my own words first, and then we'll go in. My idea with bedtime, you give the kids a fun day. They wear themselves out. They're going to be tired. They're going to say, please, I want to sleep. They're so tired from having fun. A lot of times, what happens? Your kids, they want to move. You can't stay home all day. It's not natural for them to stay in a room all day. So you got to get them out. You don't get them out, what are they going to do? They're going to cause chaos in the house. You might as well get them out and let them have the kosher fun. Let them go out and run around in a way that isn't destructive. As opposed to if they just stay in the house, it's going to be destructive. Now let's talk about bedtime. This is what he says. At certain times, eventually, the children do need to go to sleep. And if they're not going to sleep, and they should be, and in a family with a lot of children and everyone's yelling, and the mother's already tired from the day, that situation, the mother, she's got to yell out and tell everyone to quiet down. As my grandfather used to say, simmer down. She says, this is the first warning. But if a person consistently, in that case, is going to start smacking to get the children, that is not a good way to fall asleep. No one wants to go to sleep while getting smacked. Not going to happen. Sometimes the yellings could actually be worse than the smacks also. When a parent yells, it scares the child. Right? You could tap into the sadness of a child. What do you talk about? Now, sometimes it's difficult to restrain from that. Person comes home late at night, very tired, whatever it is. The last thing he wants to do is be involved with crying kids. He wants to rest a little, calm down. But the children, they want and they want and they want attention, whatever it is. And since the parent didn't see them the entire day, they want to see their parent. They want to jump on the parent. Or they want to ask questions. They want to talk about stuff. But that's the same time that they need to go to sleep. So it gets tricky. And they're getting yelled at. It could be anger over there. It has to be easy over here. Person has to show restraint. Yelling at that hour could also be damaging. Something to think about over there. There's one important idea. Without a person having refined good characteristic traits, good midos tovos, it's really impossible to educate children properly. Person doesn't work on himself, You can't transfer that to someone else. It's like Rashi and Brachos Yudalef. If a person didn't learn Torah, you can't teach Torah. Only someone who learned could teach. Sefer Mincha Shmuel quotes the Reb Chaim of Volozhin, who says, harsh words will not be heard. Kashos einem nishmaim. If we're going to use a harsh type of way of educating, no one's going to listen to it. And someone who there isn't so spoken by nature and is very quick to get angry. So what's going to happen? He's exempt from the mitzvah of rebuke. He's not allowed to rebuke because no one's going to listen to him. Here we have a psak that a person who gets easily angry, cannot rebuke. Now, the mitzvah of chinuch, of educating our children, does require us to rebuke them at times. So it comes out that someone who easily gets angry in the lomdus is exempt from rebuking. And is exempt from chinuch. He doesn't even have to educate his own children. Yeah. Now that's ridiculous. A parent is exempt from educating their own children. Rather, what's the only choice? A parent has to work on himself in order not to get angry so he can properly educate his children. That's the only way. Or else, in Lomdus, he'd totally be exempt from educating his own children, which is ridiculous, preposterous to say. This psak was given around 150 years ago by Reb Chaim of Volozhin. This certainly applies Kal V'chomer ben benoi shel Kal V'chomer nowadays. It certainly applies. We will not have success if we get angry easily. To keep our calm, soft. So what then practically should a person do if he tries to tell something to his child and the child is not listening, totally disobeying? This is all what not to do, but what should be done? And this is where things get very practical over here. You have to tell the child once, twice, 3 times patiently until he listens. Be patient. Keep saying it. That's part of the wisdom of chinuch, properly educating our children. Know how to say it, how much to say, and when to say it. It's only the way it's done. A person could say the same thing, but in 2 totally different ways. One way will be listened to, the other way won't. Not with force, not with intimidation. That doesn't mean that we don't need to ask our child to do things or always look the other way when our child's doing something and not say anything. But no intimidation. We need to find somewhere in the middle ground, which is good. Talks about a story that there's a certain Talmid Chacham who visited a Rosh Yeshiva. Rosh Yeshiva's kids were fighting. He had some visitors over, whatever. So he stopped, he brought them into a private room. The kids thought that he was going to smack both of them. Instead, the parents said, tell me, what did you do to the other child? What did you do that was wrong? And he said that to the other one, and everything just went away on its own. Person has to use tactics. A lot of times, the kids are doing it, they're around other kids. If you take the kid out to a different area, you just go for a walk 2 houses away, and then you come back. That could solve issues also. Change of scenery. Got to use tactics, you know. This is some very practical points when it comes to chinuch. You know, so much to add. So many different parenting methods. So many books that have been written. Doesn't matter what religion a person is. This isn't necessarily a religious topic. This is how to deal with children who have tantrums. How to deal. It's going to happen. The question is, how do you deal with it? When there's a lot of yelling, noise, crying, and then a parent just starts yelling back, that's like adding oil on a forest fire. That is not a time to go for that. Slow it down, be patient, be quiet. At the right time, you come in, make the situation better. Serious topic. Serious topic, you know. Look, 10 years ago, I wasn't even married, you know. Um, 6 years ago, we didn't even have kids. Now, Baruch Hashem, we have 5 kids. It's hard when you have kids, talking about tubav, people who have problems getting married. They find shidduchim, there are plenty of people. Plenty of people. People who, infertility issues, can't have children. There's so many issues of the world. We have to be grateful for what we have, but at the same time, we have to not pretend like it's not the hardest job in the world. I don't care what anyone says. Being a parent of 5 kids or being a parent is the hardest, is 24/7, or you're paying someone else to deal with your children, which sometimes isn't going to be done as the best of a way had you been dealing with them. It's a constant battle. Fatigue sometimes, tired, new babies waking you up at night every couple hours, etc. Especially for the mothers. Especially for the mothers. It's difficult, but if we would keep this in mind, I think it could help us out, give us chizuk, something to talk about. Kids, they're people. Sometimes they don't want to talk. They're shy in a public setting. You just start talking to them, even if it's not your own kid. You start talking in a nice voice. They'll talk back. You'll see they're people. They're gonna grow up one day. These are real people. All right, Mitzvah Hashem, next week we'll continue. Yeah.
Show up.